Your body is aging right now. Not slowly, not someday, right now. Inside you, microscopic protective caps on your DNA, known as telomeres, are getting shorter. Your mitochondria, the structures responsible for producing nearly all of your cellular energy, are becoming less efficient. Damaged proteins are beginning to accumulate. Inflammatory signals are quietly rising. And here's what makes this unsettling. Most of it is happening without you feeling a thing. Aging rarely announces itself when it begins. Instead, it waits. It builds quietly beneath the surface until one day you notice something subtle has changed. Your energy doesn't stretch as far as it used to. Recovery takes longer. Mental clarity flickers. Your skin responds differently to stress. Sleep becomes less predictable. For decades, scientists believed this gradual decline was largely unavoidable, a biological script written deep within human genetics. But that belief is starting to shift, because researchers studying longevity have uncovered something both surprising and strangely reassuring. Some of the most powerful compounds ever observed to support cellular health aren't experimental drugs. They aren't locked inside advanced laboratories. They're plants. Many of them common, some of them ancient, a few so biologically sophisticated that scientists are still uncovering how they interact with the deepest systems that govern human aging. Today we're exploring 20 plants that research has linked to the protection of DNA, the stability of mitochondria, the regulation of inflammation, the efficiency of cellular cleanup, and the resilience of the vascular system, processes that collectively influence how fast or how well we age. Not cosmetic youth, not marketing promises, cellular durability. Because aging is not controlled by one master switch. It is the cumulative result of countless microscopic events: damage, repair, signaling, adaptation, unfolding inside you every second you're alive. And what makes this especially fascinating is that humans have partnered with many of these plants for thousands of years, long before we had the scientific language to understand why they mattered. Traditional medicine observed the outcomes. Modern biology is beginning to explain the mechanisms, so the question is no longer whether aging happens. It will. The question is how intelligently we support the biology carrying us through it. And the first plant may already be part of your daily routine. Green tea. For more than 4,000 years, green tea has been consumed across East Asia, not simply as a beverage, but as a ritual often associated with clarity, longevity, and metabolic health. Only recently have researchers begun to understand just how biologically active this simple leaf truly is. Green tea is exceptionally rich in catechins, particularly a molecule known as epigallocatechin gallate, or EGCG, studied extensively for its ability to help protect cells from oxidative stress. Oxidative stress occurs when unstable molecules known as free radicals begin damaging cellular structures faster than the body can repair them. Over time, this contributes to many of the processes we associate with biological aging. But green tea does something even more interesting than neutralizing these molecules. Evidence suggests it may help your body strengthen its own defense infrastructure. Compounds within green tea appear to activate genes responsible for producing antioxidant enzymes such as superoxide, dismutase, and catalase, effectively upgrading your internal protection systems. Instead of acting like a temporary shield, green tea may help train your cells to become more resilient. Researchers have also observed associations between consistent green tea consumption and healthier telomere maintenance, one of the strongest biomarkers linked to aging trajectory. And the influence doesn't stop at the cellular level. Green tea polyphenols have been connected to cardiovascular support, metabolic stability, protection of a long-term brain function, and enhanced resistance to ultraviolet damage, one of the primary accelerators of visible aging. A quiet leaf, influencing some of the most complex biological systems in the human body. But if green tea represents cellular defense, the next plant behaves more like a systems regulator, turmeric. For centuries, turmeric's deep golden pigment has colored traditional medicine throughout India and much of Southeast Asia. Today, its primary active compound, curcumin, is one of the most researched botanical molecules in modern biomedical science. What makes curcumin extraordinary is not a single dramatic effect, but the breadth of its influence across multiple aging pathways. Chronic inflammation is now recognized as one of the central drivers of biological aging, so influential that scientists often refer to it as inflammaging. Unlike acute inflammation, which assists healing after injury, chronic low-grade inflammation quietly damages tissues over time. Curcumin has demonstrated an ability to help regulate inflammatory signaling while simultaneously reducing oxidative stress and supporting mitochondrial stability. Even more compelling is its relationship with longevity-associated cellular pathways. Research suggests curcumin may influence proteins known as sirtuins, regulators tied to cellular survival, metabolic efficiency, and stress resistance. Intriguingly, these are some of the same pathways activated during caloric restriction, one of the most consistent lifespan-extending interventions ever observed in biological research. Curcumin has also been studied for its role in supporting autophagy, the cellular cleanup system responsible for identifying damaged components and removing them before they accumulate. Rather than targeting one mechanism, turmeric appears to help the body maintain internal equilibrium as time moves forward. Which brings us to a biological reality many people underestimate. If your arteries age quickly, you age quickly. Blood vessels are the infrastructure that sustain every organ in your body, delivering oxygen, nutrients, hormones, and immune cells while carrying metabolic waste away. When vascular flexibility declines, the ripple effects reach everywhere, from the brain to the smallest capillaries feeding your skin. Garlic has drawn intense scientific interest, largely because of a sulfur compound released when it is crushed or chopped, allicin. Allicin and related molecules have been studied for their role in supporting arterial elasticity, promoting healthy circulation, and helping regulate oxidative stress within vascular tissue. In simpler terms, they help preserve the highways that keep your cells alive. Large population studies consistently associate diets rich in garlic with reduced risk of multiple age-related conditions. Sometimes longevity isn't hidden in something rare, it's hiding in something familiar. Now we move deeper, because every function in your body depends on one thing above all else: energy. And that energy is produced primarily by mitochondria, microscopic structures converting nutrients into usable biological fuel. Over time, these power systems degrade. Panax ginseng contains bioactive compounds known as ginsenosides that researchers believe help support mitochondrial efficiency while improving the body's ability to adapt to stress. This is why ginseng is classified as an adaptogen, a substance that helps stabilize physiological systems during periods of strain. Chronic stress is not merely psychological, it is profoundly biological, influencing immune function, metabolic regulation, sleep architecture, and cellular repair. Left unchecked, it accelerates aging across multiple systems simultaneously. Ginseng appears to help regulate cortisol patterns, support immune responsiveness, enhance physical stamina, and promote cognitive clarity, traits strongly associated with healthier aging trajectories. Some research even suggests ginseng may encourage collagen synthesis, contributing to improved skin elasticity over time. Energy, resilience, repair, 3 pillars of longevity, supported by a single root. But aging is not only about energy, it is also about clarity. And few plants have captured scientific attention for cognitive longevity quite like the next one. Perfect. Now we move into the moment that makes or breaks 30-minute videos. Part 2 is where most creators accidentally lose viewers. We are not doing that. This section will slightly increase rhythm, deepen biological intrigue, introduce subtle escalation, maintain authority without slowing, reinforce why staying matters. Same voice, same flow, seamless continuation. Paste this directly after Part 1. Elite script, Part 2. Ginkgo biloba is often described as a living fossil, a tree species that has survived for more than 270 million years. It endured catastrophic climate shifts, mass extinctions, and environmental collapse that erased countless other life forms. Scientists were naturally curious. What biological strategies allowed this species to endure so much for so long? As humans age, one of the most consequential changes occurs within the brain's vascular system. Blood flow gradually declines. Oxygen delivery becomes less efficient. Nutrient transport slows. Cellular waste lingers longer than it should. This subtle decline doesn't feel dramatic at first. It manifests as slower recall, mild cognitive fatigue, reduced processing speed, small shifts that gradually compound. Ginkgo's leaves contain flavonoids and terpenoids that appear to support microcirculation, particularly within the brain's delicate vascular network. By encouraging healthy blood flow and helping protect blood vessels from oxidative stress, these compounds help preserve the infrastructure neurons rely upon. Several studies have observed associations between ginkgo use and improvements in memory, attention, and mental clarity, especially in aging populations. There is also emerging evidence suggesting its antioxidant properties may help reduce markers associated with cellular aging. A tree that survived deep geological time, offering insight into how the human brain might preserve clarity in biological time. But cognitive preservation is only one side of aging, because eventually, aging becomes visible. Aloe vera has been called the plant of immortality since ancient civilizations, not because it halted aging, but because of its remarkable relationship with tissue restoration. What makes aloe unique is not hype, it's penetration. Many plant compounds remain near the surface of the skin. Aloe's polysaccharides, however, have demonstrated the ability to travel deeper into the layers where structural aging occurs. Within those layers live fibroblasts, cells responsible for producing collagen and elastin. Over time, fibroblast activity declines. Collagen fibers lose organization. Skin becomes thinner and less elastic. Research suggests aloe can stimulate fibroblast activity, encouraging the production of proteins that give youthful tissue its resilience. Its compounds also support moisture retention, assist recovery from ultraviolet damage, and accelerate wound repair, processes that gradually weaken with age. Internally, aloe appears to support digestive balance and metabolic regulation, indirectly influencing inflammation and nutrient absorption. A plant evolved to survive extreme environments, transferring some of that resilience to the tissues it interacts with. Now here is where aging becomes especially interesting. Because one of the most powerful accelerators of biological decline isn't simply damage, it's energy failure. Inside, nearly every cell are mitochondria converting nutrients into usable energy. When mitochondria deteriorate, fatigue increases, muscles weaken, tissues lose regenerative capacity. Pomegranate contains elagitanins that gut bacteria convert into a metabolite called urolithin A, a compound studied for its ability to activate mitophagy. Mitophagy is the process by which cells identify damaged mitochondria, break them down, and replace them with healthier versions. In other words, cellular renewal at the power source level. Human studies have linked pomegranate consumption with improvements in muscle endurance, markers of mitochondrial health, and vascular flexibility. Its polyphenols also help defend blood vessels against oxidative stress, reinforcing the circulatory network that sustains every organ. Ancient cultures revered pomegranate as a symbol of eternal life. Modern biology is beginning to understand why. But protecting energy is only part of the equation. Protecting the brain may be even more urgent. Blueberries are among the most antioxidant-dense foods ever studied, rich in anthocyanins, pigments capable of crossing the blood-brain barrier and accumulating in regions responsible for memory and learning. Once there, these compounds appear to reduce neuroinflammation, shield neurons from oxidative damage, and support communication between brain cells. Animal research has demonstrated that blueberry-rich diets can slow age-related cognitive decline. Long-term human studies associate regular consumption with healthier cardiovascular markers and improved metabolic stability. But perhaps even more fascinating is their influence on autophagy, the cellular cleanup system responsible for removing damaged proteins before they accumulate. Because aging is not simply the story of damage, it is the story of what the body fails to clear. Clean cells function more efficiently. Efficient cells age more slowly. At this point, you may be noticing a pattern: defense, repair, renewal. But what if a plant could help preserve the very cells responsible for rebuilding your body? Peppermint is often underestimated, viewed as a flavor rather than a biological tool. Yet beneath its familiar scent are polyphenols such as rosmarinic acid that demonstrate significant antioxidant potential. Emerging research suggests peppermint compounds may help protect stem cells from oxidative stress. Stem cells serve as the body's internal repair system. They regenerate tissue, assist recovery, and maintain structural integrity. But like all biological systems, stem cells age too. When their function declines, healing slows, resilience fades. Peppermint also appears to support circulation and digestive efficiency, enhancing nutrient delivery and assisting the removal of metabolic waste. Efficiency is one of the most underrated pillars of longevity. And speaking of overlooked threats, some of the most dangerous cells in the aging body are not the weakest. They are the ones that refuse to die. As cells accumulate damage, some enter a state known as senescence. These zombie cells no longer divide, yet they release inflammatory signals that damage neighboring tissue. Over time, this accelerates systemic aging. Thyme contains compounds such as thymol and carvacrol that researchers are investigating for their potential to reduce markers associated with cellular senescence. By helping regulate inflammation, support mitochondrial function, and reinforce immune response, thyme may slow one of aging's most destructive feedback loops. Sometimes longevity is not about adding vitality. It is about removing what quietly erodes it. Now pause for a moment. If there is one force capable of accelerating nearly every aging pathway simultaneously, it is chronic stress, and the plant we are about to examine has been used for centuries to help the body adapt to it. Ashwagandha is classified as an adaptogen, a botanical capable of helping regulate the stress response rather than simply stimulating or sedating it. Persistently elevated cortisol has been linked to telomere shortening, impaired immune function, disrupted sleep cycles, and increased systemic inflammation. Ashwagandha appears to help lower cortisol while stabilizing nervous system signaling, allowing the body to shift out of prolonged survival mode. Clinical research has associated its use with improvements in strength, endurance, cognitive performance, and overall vitality in aging populations. When stress burden decreases, the body reallocates energy toward maintenance and repair, and longevity, more often than not, is built through these quiet reallocations. Now we move into the final stretch, where we reinforce structure, hormones, and foundational stability. Because aging is not one dramatic event, it is the accumulation of small imbalances over time. Some of the most powerful longevity compounds do not create a dramatic sensation when you consume them. They don't flood your nervous system with stimulation, and they rarely produce an immediate noticeable shift. Instead, they operate quietly, reinforcing the structural foundations that allow human biology to remain resilient as time moves forward. Amla, also known as Indian gooseberry, is one of the most concentrated natural sources of vitamin C ever identified. But what makes Amla remarkable is not simply the amount. It is the biological environment in which that vitamin exists. The vitamin C found in Amla is naturally bound to protective polyphenols that help prevent rapid oxidation. This allows it to remain stable and highly bioavailable once inside the body, a meaningful advantage because isolated vitamin C degrades quickly. Vitamin C is not merely an immune support nutrient. It plays a central role in collagen synthesis, DNA protection, vascular integrity, and cellular repair. As levels decline with age, connective tissues weaken, healing slows, and oxidative damage accumulates more rapidly. Amla helps reinforce these systems simultaneously. Research has associated Amla consumption with improved antioxidant status, healthier metabolic markers, and stronger cardiovascular indicators, all deeply connected to aging trajectory. In traditional medical systems, Amla was linked to vitality, skin preservation, and the maintenance of hair pigmentation. Modern biochemical analysis suggests those observations were not cosmetic. They were structural. Now, as the body ages, another regulatory network begins to shift, one that influences nearly every system in ways both obvious and invisible. Hormonal signaling. Hormones help regulate sleep cycles, metabolism, mood stability, bone density, muscle maintenance, and cognitive performance. When hormonal rhythms become irregular, the pace of biological aging often accelerates. Shatavari has long been regarded as a rejuvenating botanical, particularly for its role in supporting hormonal balance. It contains naturally occurring saponins and phytoestrogenic compounds that appear to help the body adapt to hormonal transitions rather than resist them. Balanced signaling supports tissue hydration, nervous system stability, immune regulation, and skeletal strength. Instead of forcing the body into an artificial state, Shatavari appears to promote equilibrium. And equilibrium is one of the quiet signatures of long-lived biology. That same principle applies to another plant that has been widely used and widely misunderstood. Licorice root has appeared in traditional medical practices across Asia, the Middle East, and parts of Europe for thousands of years. Scientific interest accelerated when researchers began examining its anti-inflammatory capabilities. Chronic low-grade inflammation behaves almost like biological friction, gradually wearing down tissues while increasing vulnerability to dysfunction. Licorice contains compounds such as glycyrrhizin and glabridin that have demonstrated the ability to help regulate inflammatory pathways while supporting antioxidant defenses. There is also evidence suggesting licorice may influence cortisol metabolism, assisting adrenal function, and helping stabilize the stress response, both subtle but meaningful factors in long-term resilience. In dermatological science, licorice-derived compounds are frequently used to help reduce hyperpigmentation and calm inflammatory skin reactions. These effects are not superficial. They reflect deeper biochemical interactions influencing how tissue responds to stress and repair. Yet aging is not driven by damage alone. Deficiency plays a role as well. As the decades pass, the body becomes less efficient at producing certain fatty acids essential for maintaining cellular membranes and skin barrier integrity. Evening primrose provides gamma-linolenic acid, often abbreviated as GLA, a fatty acid deeply involved in inflammatory regulation and tissue hydration. As natural GLA production declines, skin may become thinner, drier, and more vulnerable to environmental stressors. Research has shown that replenishing this fatty acid can improve moisture retention, elasticity, and overall skin texture, but its influence extends beyond appearance. GLA supports joint comfort, cardiovascular health, and hormonal signaling, systems that quietly shape how aging is experienced. Sometimes the most effective longevity strategy is not introducing something new. It is restoring what time gradually removes. Flax seeds demonstrate how a single food can support multiple pillars of aging simultaneously. They contain omega-3 fatty acids that help regulate inflammatory signaling, lignans that provide antioxidant protection while supporting hormone balance, and fiber that nourishes beneficial gut bacteria. The gut microbiome shifts significantly with age, often becoming less diverse. A change associated with immune dysregulation, metabolic decline, and increased inflammation. By supporting microbial diversity, flax helps reinforce one of the most influential ecosystems within the human body. Research has associated flax consumption with improved cardiovascular markers, greater metabolic stability, and protection against oxidative DNA damage. Small seeds, expansive biological reach. And if there is one dietary pattern that appears repeatedly in longevity research across multiple populations, it is the Mediterranean diet. At its center lies olive oil, along with compounds found in olive leaf, both rich sources of polyphenols that interact with numerous pathways linked to aging. Olive compounds have demonstrated the ability to help reduce oxidative stress, regulate inflammatory activity, support mitochondrial performance, and maintain vascular flexibility. There is also growing evidence suggesting they contribute to cognitive resilience by protecting neurons and encouraging healthy cerebral blood flow. Populations that consume olive-rich diets consistently display longer lifespans and lower incidence of age-related disease, not because olive oil is a miracle substance, but because it supports the systems that prevent cascading biological failure. Hormonal aging introduces another layer of complexity, particularly during midlife transitions. Soy has often been the subject of debate, yet when consumed in traditional forms, it provides isoflavones that gently support hormonal signaling as natural estrogen levels decline. These compounds have been associated with the preservation of bone density, stimulation of collagen production, and support of cardiovascular health. Rather than overwhelming the body, soy appears to function as a biological stabilizer, helping maintain structural integrity during periods of internal change. Stability is one of the most underrated characteristics of longevity. Nothing reinforces stability quite like micronutrient density. Dark leafy greens such as spinach and kale deliver an extraordinary concentration of nutrients involved in foundational biological processes. Folate supports proper DNA methylation, influencing how genes express themselves across time. Vitamin K contributes to bone strength while helping prevent arterial calcification. Magnesium supports hundreds of enzymatic reactions tied to energy production and nervous system regulation. Nitrates enhance nitric oxide production, improving circulation and nutrient delivery. Studies consistently associate daily consumption of leafy greens with younger biological age, not because they act dramatically, but because they support the body quietly and continuously. Longevity is rarely built through grand gestures. More often, it is constructed through daily reinforcement. And finally, we arrive at one of the most visible markers of aging, skin integrity. Red bell peppers contain exceptionally high concentrations of vitamin C, along with carotenoids that help protect cells from ultraviolet damage and oxidative stress. Vitamin C is indispensable for collagen synthesis, directly influencing skin thickness, elasticity, and resilience. Carotenoids support eye health, immune defense, and cellular protection, systems that tend to decline together as biological aging accelerates. Color in your diet is not decorative. It is informational. By now, something important should feel unmistakably clear. Aging is not controlled by a single switch. It is the cumulative outcome of countless small biological shifts in DNA repair, mitochondrial efficiency, inflammatory balance, vascular health, hormonal signaling, and cellular cleanup. What makes these plants remarkable is not that they target one pathway. It is that they support many simultaneously. They do not fight aging directly. They reduce the strain aging places on your biology. And that distinction matters, because longevity is not about stopping time. It is about increasing the probability that your cells continue functioning well as time moves forward. The most powerful longevity tools available today are not hidden inside futuristic laboratories. They are not locked behind prescription barriers. They are growing quietly in gardens, forests, farms, and grocery stores, accessible in ways many advanced medical interventions are not. And every time you consume them, your cells respond. Not magically, but intelligently. Longevity, it turns out, is rarely the result of one dramatic breakthrough. More often, it is the consequence of consistent biological support. Small advantages accumulated day after day, year after year. The future of aging will almost certainly include technologies we are only beginning to imagine. But until that future arrives, the quiet partnership between human biology and the plant world remains one of the most powerful alliances we possess. Time will continue moving forward. The question is not whether we age. The question is how intelligently we support the biology carrying us there.